Fishing is very different from a shore job. The surroundings and environment in which one must work when fishing are quite different from that when one does a shore job. Every event, such as working, feeding, resting, sleeping, and all other personal requirements, have to be done inside the fishing vessel. Some fishermen do not maintain their own health and safety as well as the health and safety of other persons on board. Therefore, it is common to hear of frequent accidents.
This is Rosary. My position is 90 miles south of Goal. I had a fire on board and got 2 crew members injured seriously. Need assistance. Over.
If your vessel gets stranded at sea, do not panic. It will only worsen the situation. Do not expect a quick rescue. It takes time. Do not get disappointed. It is important to face the situation wisely. Keep the crew under control. Be confident. Give special attention to the fresh water and food supplies on board. Pay attention to the health and the mental condition of the crew. Do not give up. Use your inherent skills to save the situation. Do not forget that everybody has the right to survive. This video and the safety manual for fishermen give some hints on how to be prepared for and what to do in an emergency.
Knowing the prevailing weather condition and expected weather condition is a must in order to calculate the distance and the number of days that you expect to stay out at sea. Therefore, always ensure that you have contacted the local authorities and obtained a weather report prior to leaving for fishing.
All stations, this is ministry, this is ministry, this is ministry. Please stand by for the weather forecast.
This will help you to calculate the duration of your fishing voyage considering the winds and currents. But follow us while we prepare our boat for the fishing voyage.
When you are planning your fishing campaign, do not plan to be out at sea longer than your boat is able to do safely. Hand over your voyage plan to the harbour authority. It should include important details such as the names and addresses of the crew, the boat owner's name and contact details, the name and registered number of the boat, the area you expect to carry out fishing operations, the expected date of arrival, communication equipment available on board.
Always try to group with other vessels and try to be in the vicinity of each other. This will help you to obtain assistance from other vessels in case of an emergency.
Do not keep fishing gear on the deck while proceeding to the fishing ground and also on your way back. Stack them in the net hold securely. Ensure your vehicle is in good seaworthy condition. Check for any water leaks. Check door locks and beadings, stern tube and water intakes and discharges. Do not do any major modifications to the vessel, such as lengthening of the hull, wheelhouse alterations and tank redesigns, as they may result in a reduction of the stability of the vessel without consulting a boat designer. Load the vehicle as per recommendations in the stability documentation provided by the boat builder. The fishing vessel owner should never encourage the crew to overload the vessel. The skipper of the vessel should never jeopardize the safety of the crew. You have to give first priority to the stability of your vessel while loading. Heavy items should be kept down in the holds, but light items may be kept on deck in order to maintain an adequate stability. The loading of the vessel should always be within the limits established in the stability documentation.
Maintain a good stability of the vessel by storing heavy items low. A stable vessel is less likely to capsize. Make sure your vessel is not overloaded. Overloading reduces the stability of your vessel.
Check your SSB radio, GPS and the echo sounder if available. Check the condition of the batteries and the charging system. The magnetic compass should be checked for the deviation and variation. Charts should be available on board, demarcated with major shipping routes, restricted areas, EEZ of adjacent countries, etc. Instruments for chart work should be available. Check and ensure your safety equipment are in good condition, such as fire extinguishers, life jackets, life rings, life rafts, gloves, seaman knife, helmets, overalls, safety shoes, fire pumps and hoses, and position indicating flares and signals.
Knowledge in firefighting, survival at sea, and first aid is a must for the crew. Remember, the most dangerous enemy at sea is fire. You can escape from water, but it is difficult to escape from fire.
Remember the fire triangle. All three elements to develop a fire, such as fuel, oxygen and heat, are freely available in very close proximity on board. Therefore, extreme care should be taken to maintain these three elements separately at all times. Records show that most of the fires that occurred on board were due to simple negligence of the crew. Throwing out cigarette ends, lit matchsticks, gas leaks in ovens, short circuits in wiring systems or sparks are the main causes of fires. The crew should take extreme care to prevent such actions and always be vigilant.
Take extreme care while loading fuel.
The vessel should be equipped with basic firefighting equipment. Examples of such equipment are a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, a foam fire extinguisher, a fire blanket, and a bucket with dry sand. The crew should be aware of how to use this equipment effectively in an emergency. Always remember that the vessel is the best survival craft you can get. It is your responsibility to safeguard the vessel from fire or any other disaster. Your next priority should be given to the safety equipment on board. A life jacket is the most important individual equipment which helps you to float in an emergency, such as when you have to abandon the vessel. The colour, the light, the luminous strips and the whistle attached to the life jacket help the rescuer to locate you from a distance. The vessel should be equipped with life jackets of an approved type, one for each crew member, and they should be trained in how to don them. Remember, you are in real danger if your vessel sinks, catches fire, collides with another vessel, or starts to leak. The degree of danger sharply increases when you are far away from the land, away from other vessels, and not in shipping routes.
Rescuers cannot come to your location immediately and may take a few days or a couple of weeks. Therefore, if your vessel sinks, you must have other means of keeping afloat safely until rescue comes.
A life raft is in most cases the best equipment to launch when the crew has to abandon the vessel. In many countries, fishermen have saved their lives because they were able to survive on life rafts for weeks or even months. The crew can get in the life raft and let the vessel sink. Therefore, fishing vessels should carry a life raft on board when they go out fishing, and the crew should be trained in how to operate it in an emergency.
A life raft is equipped with very essential items such as fresh water, food rations and medicines, as well as communication equipment to convey your distress message.
A life ring is another important equipment to have on board. If somebody accidentally falls into the water, the life ring will keep him afloat. For more details, please refer to the training manual on safety at sea. A first aid box is very important to have on board. Medicines, instruments and bandages should be available in the first aid box as prescribed by a doctor. Crew members should know their first aid and be trained well, especially on artificial respiration, heart massaging, stopping bleeding and bandaging. This training could make a difference in the life of a victim.
Finally, we are ready for departure. The trip can be long and laborious. It is important that you pay attention to every little thing we are going to show you. Going out at sea can be very dangerous.
Always plot your position on the chart. Make sure that you update it every hour when offshore and every 30 minutes when coasting. Contact shore radio station at least twice a day and inform of your position. Gather whatever possible information from them on the weather.
Ministry, this is Rosary. Could you please give me the weather forecast? Over. Do not use your radio for unnecessary conversations. Keep the radio free as far as possible for receiving emergency calls from other vessels. This should be strictly adhered to, and make sure that the crew members are aware of the importance of listening.
Maintain a sharp lookout. Always be vigilant of other vessels coming head on and crossing your bow. Take necessary precautions in time to avoid collision. Do not go alongside other vessels out at sea unless it is necessary. Do not try to lift on board unidentified objects that are floating in the sea. Such objects could turn out to be sea mines or explosives that could pose a threat to your life.
Yes, Ministry, this is Rosary. I repeat, I can see a suspected object floating 20 miles south of Goal. Over. Some fishermen do not maintain their safety as well as the safety of other persons on board. Therefore, it is common to hear of frequent accidents.
It is not easy to treat an injured person when out at sea, compared with rushing him to the hospital when on shore. A vessel has to return to shore if a crew member gets seriously injured. Coming back to shore is not always easy. It depends on the distance and the speed of the vessel. Sometimes the return journey takes a couple of days or more, turning the condition of the injured person from bad to worse. Therefore, it is essential to prevent personal accidents and give first priority to personal safety. In addition, money for fuel and other requirements is wasted, making the voyage a loss. Therefore, the crews of fishing vessels must give top priority to their personal safety. Wherever necessary, the crew should use safety equipment such as helmets, overalls, non-skid safety shoes, goggles, gloves, safety belt, depending on the nature of the work performed. Special care must be observed in dealing with cables, wires, lines, fish hooks and winches, which can cause serious injuries to your body. Running on deck and along ladders and jumping from aloft should be avoided. The work deck remains wet and slippery when you are working with fish. Therefore, extreme care must be taken while working to prevent accidents.
Every year, several Sri Lankan fishermen lose their lives and hundreds of others are injured, some seriously. Here we are, finally on the fishing ground. This is my favorite part, but listen, here we have some more hints.
Every vessel has to exhibit internationally recognised lights and shapes when out at sea. The lights and shapes depend on the size of the vessel and the type of operation it is carrying out. Exhibiting designated lights and shapes properly is an important part of safe navigation. Lights and shapes tell other vessels not only where you are, but what you are doing. Light at night time on surfing fishing gears such as gill nets and long lines are also recommended in order to indicate to other vessels where they are. There are frequent complaints by fishermen of the loss of their gear because it has been run over by other vessels. There are also reported incidents of gill nets entangled in the propeller of other vessels, which has crippled their passage. It is therefore advisable that fishing gear in the water is provided with displaying lights in the dark and flags or shapes in the daytime. During fishing, lights on deck should not be turned off unless the fishing operation requires darkness. Lights should be placed in a way that does not dazzle a lookout or interfere with the effectiveness of the prescribed navigational lights. While fishing, never try to hold the gill net or the long line by hand when shooting under the powered engine. For clearing snags, it is a must to stop the movement of the vessel. When jigging for fish, crew members should wear gloves to protect their hands. Never wear rings on your fingers and bangles on your wrists while working. Such items can get caught in lines, nets, and other gear and equipment. Never touch jellyfish or other living organisms floating in the water with your bare hands. These could irritate your skin and cause you much discomfort. Do not interfere with others' work unless you are geared sufficiently. Never stand on a tensioned wire or a rope. If such a rope snaps, you could be injured. Never lift a heavy item by bending your spine and putting the full weight of the item on your spine. Bend your knees to a half-sitting position with your feet a little apart. Hold the weight properly, keep your back straight and rise up to the standing position while the weight is being lifted simultaneously. By doing so, you can prevent back injuries. Never stand in a bight of rope or wire. If it tightens suddenly, a serious injury may follow. Never lift heavy fish on board holding the fish forward of the vessel from your standing position. Always leave the fish abaft of the vessel from your standing position before lifting it. This positioning allows you to let go of the fish with the movement of the vessel in any difficulty. Wear close-fitting clothing, which is not likely to get caught in fishing gear, winches or other machinery. Exposed buttons can get caught in nets or other fishing gear. Always hold with clear distance from the bollard when surging or taking the slack of a rope. Have a wire cutter and a knife close by when shooting or hauling gill nets and long lines. This will help you to cut the gear in the event that a crew member gets entangled in it. Take extreme care when gutting fish. Sharp fish bones may be poisonous and cause dangerous cuts. Protect your eyes from flying fish hooks by wearing sunglasses or safety glasses. Pay attention to the stability while hauling gill nets or purse seine nets with winches. A list caused by a heavy load of fish in the net reduces the stability of the vessel. Always try to shoot your fishing nets and lines with the wind and haul them against the wind. It will help to maintain the vessel behind the nets and lines without drifting onto them.
Preventing on-the-job injuries and diseases is up to everyone. Maintaining the health and the safety in fishing operations is a shared responsibility of the vessel owner, the skipper and the crew. It is a wonderful day today and we are really having a great time fishing. But it is not always like this. When the weather condition turns up against us, wow boys, it can be really dangerous.
All movable items should be lashed and secured properly in specified places. Keeping movable items in the way where they are free to move is dangerous. In rough seas, these could move around violently and hit people or reduce the stability of the vessel. Furthermore, heavy items such as oil barrels, which are free to move on board, could damage the boat or be washed overboard.
Remember, unlike on shore, there are no spare persons available on board to replace injured crew.
As a safety precaution, a lifeline should be set up as appropriate to the size of the vessel. To prevent men from falling or being washed overboard in bad weather, suitable lifelines with man ropes should be rigged on the working deck. When fishermen are required to work in an exposed place or to reach over the side in heavy weather, they should be secured by a safety line or a safety belt and wear life jackets. Sri Lanka is an island situated in the Indian Ocean just south of India. The distance between India and Sri Lanka is approximately 26 kilometres. The west coast is bordered by the Indian Ocean, spreading over 400 nautical miles up to the Maldives Islands. The east is bordered by the Indian Ocean, spreading over 500 nautical miles up to the Andaman Islands through the Bay of Bengal. The southern coast is bordered by the open ocean up to the South Pole, except for a few small isolated islands such as the Cocos Islands and the Diego Garcia Island. In general, rough seas can be experienced around the island during half of the year. The western seas are rough during the southwest monsoon, and the eastern seas, the area of the Bay of Bengal, are rough during the northeast monsoon. Strong currents can be observed during the monsoon seasons, which can reach a rate of 20 to 30 nautical miles a day. Strong tropical cyclones developed due to depressions have been reported frequently during the months of June and July and November and December. Vessels stranded in the Bay of Bengal during the southwest monsoon tend to drift towards the Andaman Islands, Myanmar, or adjacent countries in the east, while vessels stranded between the Maldives and Sri Lanka tend to drift towards Sri Lanka. During the period of the northeast monsoon, vessels in the Bay of Bengal get drifted towards Sri Lanka, and vessels in the western part of the ocean get drifted towards the Maldives. There is no need to say about the real danger if someone gets stranded down the south of the island. Therefore, fishermen should know the direction of the drift and act accordingly to minimize the drift away from land.
You should know very well the geography of the seas that you are sailing. Get trained in any possible manner. I've heard of so many crews lost out at sea. There are heavy currents. If you are not prepared, you'll never back home.
It is a fact that many operators of Sri Lankan fishing vessels lack knowledge in proper navigation methods and other safety measures to be taken out at sea in order to safeguard the vessel and its crew. GPS is often the sole equipment available on board to find the position and way back to the land. If something goes wrong with the GPS, or in a situation where there is a power failure, the crew will find themselves in trouble, marooned at sea.
If you are forced to face a cyclone, there is something you must know. It is the use of the sea anchor.
A sea anchor can help you keep the boat facing the waves and can minimize your drift. The structure of a sea anchor is so simple that fishermen can make it on board if canvas, ropes, floats and weights are available. As an alternative, fishermen can minimize the drift using fishing nets. Tie it like a rope, remove the floats, tie up the normal anchor at one end while the other end is fastened to the vessel's bow, and drop it into the sea in an up and down position. This will minimize the drift considerably. For more details, please refer to the training manual on safety at sea.
Considering the huge area we go for fishing, probabilities are very high to experience common accidents. We must carry sufficient spare parts on board before we proceed to sea.
All the spare parts that have to be available on board can be suggested to you by your trusted mechanic. The crew must be capable of carrying out minor repairs.
In case that you won't be able to overcome the situation, there are some tools and procedures that can save your life.
Seagoing fishing vessels should be equipped with an SSB radio for the purpose of communication with other Sri Lankan fishing vessels and with shore base in an emergency. In a distress situation, the radio should not be used unnecessarily, weakening your battery strength. Instead, the crew should maintain a listening watch. Distress can be conveyed over the radio to relevant authorities and to other fishing vessels. Having a compass to get directions and a GPS to find the position is essential. Charts of the area, divider, pencil and a parallel ruler must be available on board to locate where you are and inform the position and the direction of the drift to authorities to support rescue operations. Informing your current position twice a day at a specified time is good enough, so you can save your batteries for a longer period. Sri Lankan fishing vessels that are not equipped with VHF radios cannot have radio contacts with other foreign vessels, such as cargo vessels who are constantly maintaining a listening watch on VHF radio channel 16. This is a disadvantage in an emergency. Having a VHF radio on fishing vessels gives the advantage of requesting for assistance from other vessels, such as cargo vessels in the area.
In other cases, there is a set of internationally recognized manual signals to convey your distress message to other vessels in the vicinity.
If you see a vessel in the vicinity, try to get their attention by doing the following. Spread your hands and wave them up and down repeatedly, standing on the top of the wheelhouse or in another visible place. Hang the flag November on the mast, accompanied with the flag Charlie. If the rescuing vessel is close to your vessel, make a group shout for help. Hang a highly coloured canvas on the top of the mast. Hang a square flag having above or below it a ball or anything resembling a ball. Reflect the sunlight continuously to the approaching vessel's wheelhouse using a mirror or any other reflecting object. Blow your whistle continuously if the approaching vessel is in reach. Use orange colour smoke signals so the rescue vessel could see your location. In the night time, make a safe fire in a bucket and float it away from the vessel. Signal ... SOS in the Morse code by flashing your torch, if possible, directly at the wheelhouse of the approaching vessel. Fire rockets or shells throwing red stars, fired one at a time at short intervals.
Time to go home. We have finished fishing and we are ready to return to harbour. On our way back, there are very important things that we have to consider.
At the end of the fishing operation, your bottom tanks get lighter and slack due to consumption of fuel and fresh water, which will reduce the stability of your boat. Extreme care must be taken while stowing fish in fish holds and using the deck for storing dried fish. Partition boards must be placed lengthwise and breadthwise in the fish hold to prevent shifting of fish. On your way back, all fishing gear and other heavy material must be properly stowed and placed as low in the vessel as possible. Always adhere to the guidelines in the stability documentation. Select the shortest and safest way to get back, taking into account winds, currents, navigational hazards and restricted areas. Inform shore base about your position, particulars of the catch, repairs to be attended and supplies for the next voyage, things that are required on arrival and the estimated time of arrival. Maintain a record on temperature in the fish hold and add more ice on the fish if required. Watch and pump out bilges regularly. Use the sail to increase your speed if the wind is favourable. The crew should be given ample time for resting. On arrival, try to enter the harbour during daylight. It will reduce the risk of stranding on a sandbank or a reef.
Here we are finally back to the land. Our fishing voyage is over and everything worked out just well, following good habits and rules. Of course, even if you are always doing the right things, accidents can happen. But listen to me.
If your vessel gets stranded at sea, do not panic. It will only worsen the situation. Do not expect a quick rescue. It takes time. Do not get disappointed. It is important to face the situation wisely. Keep the crew under control. Be confident. Give special attention to the fresh water and food supplies on board. Pay attention to the health and the mental condition of the crew. Do not give up. Use your inherent skills to save the situation. Do not forget that everybody has the right to survive.
This documentary has given you some hints on how to be prepared for and what to do in an emergency. Remember, the life we save may be our own.